So for 18, the trick is that a lot of times you're trying to do more than what you need to do to answer the question. So 18 patients on a feeding tube, 120 milliliters, 90 minutes. And we just want to know what would that flow rate be if we were to convert it to milliliters per hour. So the way we would do number 18 is we have 120 milliliters, 90 minutes. And if I was going to do this the long dimensional analysis way, I would just convert minutes to hours. So 1 hour, 60 minutes, and then come up with your answer. The way that you asked in your in the chat, you asked your question, which is correct, is you could also just say that 90 minutes is 1.5 hours, and then just solve it based off of that. As long as you get the final answer the same, then we're doing it the right way. And Keisha, thank you very much for trying to recruit others from the old link. And I do apologize to those of you coming over from the other link. I couldn't get those links to work on Tuesday. So I just put everyone in the same link for every session. So thanks for coming in. Okay, so I'm working through a couple questions that Taria had asked about. So we're going to go through those, and I'm going to post in here. If I can get this. I'm going to post a link to the practice tests and then to the YouTube, my YouTube channel where everything will be set up. The other thing I'll mention is in the OneDrive folder, there are some additional practice questions that I made for a 240 student, but they are applicable to your class, to the 220, 230 students. And I'll also add that there currently is no key, but I plan to have a key up in that either tonight or tomorrow. And if for some reason I forget to do that, I'm certain one of you will email me and remind me until I get it done. But I will have it up just in case you need it. But there's some additional practice in there that you might find helpful.
Where's the OneDrive folder at?
It's in the link in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I put the link. It's the same. It's the same link you've probably always had. If you still have it or if you bookmarked it, I haven't changed the share link and the stuff that's in there. I just add more stuff to it when I remember to do so. All right. Then I think we said we went up to 22 and then 23, 24, and 25. Okay. So 22, 23, and 24 kind of, well, 22 and 23 specifically warm you up for the heparin protocol. So we're working our way towards that, and 22 and 23 are good ways to do this. So 22 says you have 0.45% normal saline, 1,000 milliliters IV with heparin 25,000 units to infuse at 1,000 units per hour. But I want to know what that flow rate would be in milliliters per hour. So what would I program the infusion pump to? So my strategy is as follows. I'm going to always start with the flow rate that is given to me. And the flow rate that is given to me is the 1,000 units per hour. Now, the question says how many milliliters per hour. So I know I don't want units per hour, but I want to be able to convert units to milliliters. And I can do that with the IV bag that they've given me, which tells me I have 1,000 milliliters, the normal saline, that contains 25,000 units. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 1,000 times 1,000. So pull up my calculator here. So 1,000 times 1,000 divided by 25,000, and I'll get 40 milliliters per hour. So again, the strategy here is I start off by writing down first the units per hour that they give me, And then I just convert units to milliliters using the IV solution again that they gave me. You can obviously rewrite this. If you're trying to do ordered over half, that doesn't work for flow rate questions. Okay. So ordered over half does not work well for flow rate questions, but as long as if you keep 1,000 over 25,000 times 1,000, you'll be fine. That will, or that can work. The problem is sometimes people will flip these numbers around. They'll put 25,000 divided by 1,000 times 1,000. And then you don't, you're doing that wrong. So just keep things and keep that in mind, that if you keep getting the wrong answer, it's probably because you're setting it up the wrong way. And hopefully this is helpful to show you how to set it up the right way.
It's 2310.
23 is 10.
Okay.
So I will work that out the same way I worked out the one above. Okay. I don't want units. I want milliliters, right? Only difference is we're talking about insulin here, but as far as being measured in units, it's the same thing. And then the 500 just happen to cancel out. So the 10 units per hour is the same thing as 10 milliliters per hour. But again, sometimes it's helpful just to see it. And then 24 tells you, that you're infusing 1,000 milliliters at 50 milliliters per hour, and it starts at 8 a.m. on Monday. I just want to know what time will it end and what day will it end. So I'm just going to double check and see.
I actually got that right, but
Okay.
the thing I was confused on is I seen a couple problems on Register Nurse, which she confuses me, but
Okay.
it was converting liter. You had to convert the liter to milliliter first and then do the problem. So will there be questions like that, or it's going to be just straight milliliter to milliliter? Or
so like, let's say for this question, I could have written that for question 22, I could have said 0.45% normal saline, 1 liter IV with heparin 25,000 units. Then yeah, you would just convert liters to milliliters.
so I wouldn't have to do like the long dimensional. I can just do like 1,000 divided by, like, it depending which one it is. If you have to divide or times by 1,000, I could just do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to show that. If you can do that conversion, like in your head, or then that's perfectly like, and I can't imagine that they would use anything other than, either they'd probably use 1 liter, 0.5 liters, and then you would just, convert 1 liter to 1,000 milliliters, 0.5 liters to 500 milliliters. That would be the only type of conversion. So my guess is that she was just giving scenarios that question might be asked. So yeah, so if it's in liters, convert it to milliliters at some point. Otherwise your answer won't make sense, because it'll be some decimal answer, 0.004 milliliters per hour or 0.004 liters per hour, and that's obviously not what you want. So all right, and I will say, I know I've already said this a couple times, and you don't need to go into the other room, but if anyone knows Allison Green, she keeps going to the old room. So if you have a way to email her or text her, and if you don't know who that is, then that's okay. This is being recorded. So, and sorry, Allison, your name is now infamous on YouTube. Okay. So half normal saline, 1,000 milliliters infusing at 50 milliliters per hour. So the first thing I need to figure out is, how long is this thing going to be running for? So I have 1,000 milliliters. It's infusing at 50 milliliters per hour. So when I set up this problem, I know that I don't want milliliters, I want hours. So I just take my infusion at 50 milliliters per hour. So I know I'm going to do 1,000 divided by 50. If you did that another way and got to the same answer, we're all doing the same things. And I get 20 hours. So this, that liter bag is going to take 20 hours to empty out. So if we started Monday, 8 a.m., and I want to know what time it will be 20 hours from then, the way that I kind of illustrate this is we know what time it'll be in 24 hours, right? It'll be Tuesday, 8 a.m. But I don't want to know 24 hours. I want to know 20 hours. So minus 4 hours will give me Tuesday, 4 a.m.
You did that way easier.
Mm-hmm.
I put like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Then I went all the way to 24. And I put 1, 2, 3.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, and that's perfectly fine. It's good that you practice the the military time, so that way you have an idea of where and when that is. But and because you might get something that's like where that would make more sense. But I would just say just use what you already know. Like, so let's say this was 10 hours. I would say, okay, well, I know 12 hours from 8 a.m. is 8 p.m. and then subtract 2 from there. I would just try and make like an estimate. It's almost like using that like Common Core to get to the time. So all right, give me 1 second. I just want to see. Okay, well, I don't know who iPhone is, so that doesn't help out. Anyways, okay. All right, so let's go into the doozy that is the Heparin Protocol. So like I said before, 22 and 23 kind of warm you up to parts of the Heparin Protocol. So the first thing we got to talk about with the Heparin Protocol is, first of all, what in the world is it? And what are you responsible for? Because there's a lot of stuff here, right? And it looks like it's 3,000 questions of things that you've never seen or heard of before. So where it says 1 through 15, these are not questions. These are the steps of the protocol. Okay. The questions to answer are down here. So answer the following questions. So you're going to use the information from the protocol to answer these questions. So couple things, the beginning of the protocol, and I know if you're watching the recording of this, I know that this doesn't show up really well, but when I write, it'll, on my paper with the marker, it shows up fine, but you may not be able to read this the way it is right now, so I apologize, but hopefully you have this in front of you. If you don't, let me know. So it tells you the protocol is to bolus the patient with heparin 80 units per kilogram body weight, and then start a drip at 18 units per kilogram per hour. It tells us the patient's weight, and then it goes through a bunch of different steps. So the first step is, what is the patient's weight in kilograms? Okay, so it's in pounds here. We need to convert pounds to kilograms by dividing by 2.2. If you want to, you can write that here. You don't have to. The second step of the protocol just tells you what you have available. You have available an IV of heparin, 25,000 units in 250 milliliters, half normal saline. Also, you have available a bolus dosage strength of 1,000 units per milliliter. So the way I kind of wrap this around in my head is, this is your IV, the 25,000 units in the 250 milliliter half normal saline that's connected to the IV to the patient. And then this is a separate bolus dose that you could inject into the IV to kind of create the bolus dosage strength as needed. All this other stuff we don't need to worry about. You don't need to worry about CBC, when to repeat it. You don't need to worry about the neuro checks, the GAIAC stool. All that stuff is going to be dependent on the information that you get from, or all that stuff's going to be dependent on the hospital and then the specific protocol. So you don't need to worry about any of this stuff, because you just need to worry about answering these questions. Okay. Give me 1 second. Someone asked, I'm just going to repost for anyone that came in late. This is the link to the practice tests, and then the link to my YouTube channel where this will be posted is in the chat. Okay, so steps 3 through 9, you can just ignore for dosage calc. Okay, so you're doing this protocol in a hospital setting or answering other questions. You may need that information, but for answering the test, you don't. Step 10 just repeats what it says at the beginning of the protocol, to bolus with 80 units per kilogram, and then to start a drip at 18 units per kilogram per hour. Okay. These other steps right here in the box area are basically what happens after you check the APTT after 6 hours. Okay. So I circled step 12 because we're going to use step 12, but if the APTT was under 35, If it was between 45 and 75, between 76 and 90, if it was greater than 90, then this would tell you what to do for your patient that's on heparin. Okay. So I know there's a lot of steps there, but the first step is, and that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to take this stepwise. Step one, we're going to convert the patient's weight in pounds to kilograms. So your 110-pound patient is, and we're just divided by 2.2, is 50 kilograms. So question A says, calculate the number of milliliters to administer for the bolus. And they're talking about the initial bolus. So patient weighs 50 kg. My initial bolus tells me 80 units per kilogram. I know I've set this up right because I can eliminate kilograms and I'm left with units. 80 times 50 is 4,000 units. If the question had said how many units to administer, then we would just say 4,000 units. But the question says how many milliliters to administer for the bolus. So to calculate and convert units to milliliters, you need to know what the bolus dosage strength is. So step 2 of the protocol tells you that the bolus dosage strength is 1,000 units per milliliter. 1,000 units per milliliter. 4,000 divided by 1,000, 4 milliliters is the answer for the initial bolus dose. So what can change in this question? Well, patient's weight. If I make the patient a different weight, they're going to have a different kilogram. That different kilogram times 80 divided by 1,000 will give you your bolus dosage strength. Okay. What about starting the drip? So it tells you in the protocol to start a drip at 18 units per kilogram per hour. So again, we have to account for the patient's weight. Same patient, same weight, 50 kilograms. And then times 18 kilogram per hour. And again, that's all information coming from the protocol. So 50 times 18 is 900 units. That's per hour. This should remind you of question 22 and 23, right? Because you had units per hour, but the question says, what is the infusion rate in milliliters per hour? So we need to convert this to milliliters per hour. So I'm going to go back to my protocol. Step 2 of the protocol says heparin 25,000 units in 250 milliliters, half normal saline. So I need to take care of that, right? I need to account for that. That's my IV. And that's what I'm going to use to calculate my flow rate, the 25,000 units, the 250 milliliters, half normal saline. I'm not going to use the bolus dosage strength because I only use the bolus dosage strength for calculating the bolus dose. So I don't want units, I want milliliters per hour, 250 milliliters, 25,000 units. And we're going to get 9 milliliters per hour. Again, really the only way I can change, like on your test, one of these questions is the patient's weight. So as a practice, I would say, you can do your weight, your significant other's weight, your friend's weight, a hypothetical weight, mom's weight, dad's weight, whatever weight you want to do, that's what you would do. Okay. Now, the next part of the questions ask you, it says after 6 hours, we take the patient's APTT and it's 43 seconds. Now on your test, you're either only going to get A and B, or you're going to get only C1, C2. So I gave you 4 questions to practice. On the test, you'll get 2 of these, one being a bolus, one being flow rate in that same question. And then even though there's 2 questions to answer, but it only counts as one. So let's say you missed both, you would only miss 1 question. But if you miss one, you still miss the question, okay? You're going to practice enough that you're not going to miss this question. You're going to review this. You're going to review that I've gone through the Heparin protocol on my YouTube page. So you're going to see all that. You get plenty of practice with it. All right. So we're going to calculate the new bolus, and we're going to calculate the infusion rate. So the APTT is 43 seconds. I go into my protocol. Step 12 tells me if the APTT is between 36 and 44, then I need to do some stuff. I need to rebolus with 40 units per kilogram, and then I need to increase the rate by 2 units per kilogram per hour. So let's do that. So see part 1. Same patient weight, right? Same 50K patient. But this time, the new bolus is 40 units per kilogram. Now you may be saying, well, isn't that half of 80? Yeah, it's half of 80. So you probably can assume that it's going to be half, but let's work it out just to be on the safe side. We get 2,000 units. And then I need to convert units to milliliters. And again, we're calculating a bolus. So we're going to use the bolus dosage strength. And I get 2 milliliters. For part 2.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat how you just got the 40 units?
Yes, it's in the protocol. So in the protocol, it tells me to rebolus with 40 units per kilogram. Do you see that?
I do, but I don't understand why. Like,
Oh, so it says after 6 hours, the patient has an APTT of 43 seconds. And then this question should say calculate the number of milliliters to prepare for the new bolus. So that's why we're doing that. So you're asking a good question because it doesn't explicitly state what you're supposed to do. But part 1 is you're calculating the rebolus. Does that answer the question?
I guess I'm confused on how we just went from like the beginning to all of a sudden answering C another question.
Okay. So we already answered A and B. And then now I'm just moving on to the next scenario that they ask. So that said after the 6 hours. So we answered A and B, right? So we got 4 milliliters for the bolus, 9 milliliters per hour for the IV drip, or the infusion rate. Then part C is, it's just all the questions for the protocol come from right here.
Oh, you're going down A, B, and C. I was wondering where you were getting your A, B, and C from. I thought you were just going down 1, 2, and 3. Never mind.
Okay, no, you're fine.
Never mind. Okay.
You're fine.
I follow you now.
Okay.
I was so confused.
These, what I've circled in blue, are just what you're referencing, right? So like, if you remember from chemistry, if I wanted to know something about copper, I look at the chart, right, to tell me. And that's the same thing I'm doing with pro. I know, so I gave you some of you guys nightmares about rehashing chemistry, but I'm looking at the protocol just to tell me what to do. Okay. And then I circled on here, steps 1, 2, 10, and 12 are the important parts of the protocol. Everything else you can, for the math part, you could just ignore. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that you were like reading the protocol and answering the questions from the protocol.
Okay.
I didn't understand that you were answering questions A, B, and C. I thought that you were just making up A, B, and C and answering the questions from the protocol 1, 2, and 3, but using A, B, and C. So I was Yeah, I was confused.
Okay, well, I'm glad we got everything straightened out. Okay, good. Okay, so we're down here at C1 and C2. And some of this is my fault. So when you're asking that question, like, and you might be thinking like, why didn't I know what he was talking about? I've gone through this protocol so many times that I just instinctively just go down the line, and I assume that you're following along with me. So you stopping me and telling me, hey, hold up, that was the right thing to do. So, all right. So the rebolus, 2 milliliters. Now we're going to continue an IV drip, but we're going to make some changes. It tells me, with the APTT of 43 seconds, it tells me to increase the rate by 2 units per kilogram per hour. What was our initial rate? Our initial rate was 18. So if I'm going to increase it by 2, 18 plus 2 is going to be.
You're basically doing A and B over. You're just adding a little
Got it.
to it. So it's just the same thing basically, but okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I gave you 2 things to do, is just because then you get some extra practice. So 50 times 20 is 1,000 units per hour. I don't want units per hour. I want milliliters per hour. And I'm going to use my IV bag. And I'll get 10 milliliters per hour.
The only thing I'm scared about is if I get C1 and C2 instead of A and B, it might be confusing because then.
Well, again, if you get those, okay, all you got to do is read what it says for the APTT. So if it says 43 seconds, if it says 50 seconds, if it says 27 seconds, and you just follow what it says in the boxes. So like, let's say all you got was C1 and C2, it said, and you got 20 seconds. You're going to rebolus with 80. And then it says to increase by 4. Now, increase by 4 means you started at 18. So you're going to add 4 to that. Okay. So that's the only thing you would do, is just change, or you would just follow what it says to do. And then again, that's why I'm giving you extra practice. So you can say like, oh, okay, I'm going to do some extra things here. Let me try just the standard, and then let me try after the 6 hours and see what I get. So I think with enough practice, you won't get flustered with it, because this will be given to you. Okay. This whole thing is given to you as it is. If you do a Google search for heparin protocol, you'll see these steps 1 through 15 listed. Now, earlier today, I did a different weight for the heparin protocol. I'm just going to see if I can find that, and then I'll share that with you guys, so you can see what that looks like if we use a different patient's weight. Yeah, here we go. So I did, let's say we had a patient who weighed 176 pounds. I would divide by 2.2, get 80 kilograms. And then I would just follow the same, times 80 units, get my units, divide by 1,000, times 18, divide by 100. For the rebolus, times 40, divide by 1,000. For the updating the infusion rate, 80 times 20 divided by 100. Now 250 over 25,000 is equal to 1 over 100, which is why I was saying 100 in case you're wondering. If for some reason you do a patient's weight and you get like 80.2345 whatever decimal, just make sure you round to the nearest 10th before you go through and do any other calculations.
Can I see the other paper real quick?
Yeah, the one that I started with.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, I've run through the protocol several times on YouTube, so you can watch them. You know, maybe I've even explained it in different ways over the years, but
So if you're going from pounds to kilograms, I thought you leave it. Like, okay, say you have 55.9, you wouldn't round it to 56. would you?
correct. You would round it to the nearest tenth.
Oh, the 10th is the 9.
Yeah, so leave it at 55.9.